We're going to skip over section 5.8. Alright, so we're just jumping to the 5.9 notes. I think this will work better for you guys anyway. This is the quadratic formula. Alright, so this is something that you should know and you should be able to do. Now, you can use this to solve any quadratic equation. The first thing is you have to get it into your ax squared plus bx plus c form first, so that you can pull off what a is, which is the number with the x squared. You can pull off the b, it's the number with the x, and it's the number with the c. Alright? Then you can put it into this formula and you can come up with an answer. Alright, so how this works like this. Here's our first problem. Alright, if there's not a number beside the variable, remember it's a 1. So in this case, a is 1. B is the number beside the x, so B is positive 3, or 3. And C is the number. Don't forget the sign, all right? So C is negative 5. So now what I'm going to do is take my quadratic formula, and I'm going to plug these into it. So I get this, x equals a negative B, so B is 3, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so b is 3, so 3 squared, minus 4, all right, times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 5. All right, and then that's all over 2 times a, so 2 times 1. All right, so now here's what I want you to do. Here's the way I want you to do it to make it easier for you. X equals, apply the negative sign to this, so it's going to be a negative 3, plus or minus square root, and then in the bottom 2 times 1 is 2. Alright, so now we're going to do what's underneath of this radical. What's under here is called the discriminant. So I'm going to do this, so I got to square my 3. Alright, so I'm going to do it separately. So I'm going to do it up here. Alright, so I square my 3, gives me 9, minus 4 times 1 is 4, times negative 5 is negative 20. So I have 9 minus negative 20. Minus negative, we change to plus positive. So I get 9 plus 20, which is 29. Now, 29 is not a perfect square, so we can't really figure out what this is. And it doesn't have any perfect square factors, so we don't have to simplify it. So we can just leave our answer just like that. Okay? All right. Here's B. All right, so B, again, no number in front of the x squared, so A is 1. B is negative 5, and C is negative 7. All right, so again, we're going to plug it into the formula. So I got x equals negative, that's that negative sign here, and then B, well, B is a negative 5, plus or minus the square root of B, negative 5 squared, minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is negative 7. All over 2 times A, which is 1. All right? So, again, we're going to just do this the easy way. So I got a negative 5, which gives me a positive 5, plus or minus square root, and then 2 times 1 is 2. All right, so now we're going to take what's under the square root, and we're going to do it off to the side. So I got negative 5 squared, all right, that gives me 25. All right, negative 5 times negative 5 gives me positive 25. Minus 4 times 1 is 4, times negative 7 is negative 28. So I got 25 minus negative 28, which turns to plus positive. All right, and 25 and 8 gives me 53. So 53 goes under the radical. And I can't break 53 down anymore. It doesn't have any perfect square factors. So I'm just going to leave that. That is going to be my answer. All right. All right. Now, C, here's ones you got to be careful with because this isn't in standard form. Remember, they have to be in standard form to get your A, B, and your C. So we have to move the 16 to the other side. So we add 16. And we get x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 0. All right? Now, we can pull off our a. Our a is 1. Our b is negative 8. And our c is 16. And then we just plug it into our formula. So we get x equals a negative b, which is negative 8, plus or minus square root b, which is negative 8, squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times 16, all over 2 times a, which is 1. All right, so now I got x equals negative 8 gives me a positive 8, plus or minus square root 2 times 1 is 2. All right, so now we got to do this. Again, we'll do it up here. So a negative 8 squared gives me a positive 64, minus 4 times 1 is 4, times 16 is 64. So I got 64 minus 64, which is 0. So I put a 0 in here. Well, this one I can do now, because the square root of 0 is 0. And if I take 8 plus 0 or 8 minus 0, it's not going to change it. So I just get an answer, x equals 8 over 2, which is 4. All right? So sometimes you can do them and you can get an answer. All right. And then D. All right. Again, A is 1. B is negative 6. And C is 10. So again, just plugging it into our formula. X equals a negative b, which is negative 6, plus or minus the square root of b, which is negative 6, squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 10. All over 2 times a, which is 1. So we get x equals negative 6 gives me a positive 6, plus or minus square root over 2 times 1 is 2. So we got this under here now. So a negative 6 squared gives me a positive 36. Minus 4 times 1 is 4, times 10 is 40. 36 minus 40 is a negative 4. So I got a negative 4. All right. So now we have x equals. Remember, we have a negative under radical, so we got to switch that. It becomes, all right, so this negative square root of negative 4, remember, that becomes the square root of 4 times the square root of negative 1. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of negative 1 is I. Don't forget your I about the I. All right, so now we got 6 plus or minus 2I over 2. And I will let you leave it just like that. All right. All right. So that is using the quadratic formula. And that's really all I want you to be able to do from these notes, is be able to use the quadratic formula. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to practice. All right. You got 4 problems back here. You're going to practice just using the quadratic formula. That's all I want you to do. All right. And I will give you a homework assignment for a couple more practice problems. All right, but just a couple. All right, but I want you to do the checkpoint and then like probably 4 or 6 homework problems. I'll show you what they are.